So, hey, it is it is my first office hours, and I'm Christiane Knight. I am the writer of fantasy tales set in Baltimore, as well as science fiction ones coming up soon. And I decided that it would be really fun to start holding office hours for people who support me on coffee, but also everyone else who wants to join in and listen to me prattle on about bullshit. Anyway, I am recording this. At the moment, no one has joined me, which is fine because it's the very first one. But I figured what I would do is sit out here on my lovely patio and talk to everybody about what I have going on right now. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is I am running a special. This is it's a first time thing for me as an author, but I've done things like this before in the past, where I am doing a 3-card spread, 1 tarot card, and 2 of sovereign oracle cards, which hopefully that is reversed. If it's not, it is a sovereign oracle is by Teresa Pridemore, and it is a really great set of oracle cards that are really designed for creative people to kind of give them some insight, possibly break them out of thinking ruts. You can use them when you don't know what to do, like the next steps you want to take in your writing or your other art. You can also sometimes just use them to kind of give yourself confirmation that you're headed the right way, or support yourself. And the set is cool because there's actually 2 sets. There's an expansion set and a regular set. The expansion set is 30 cards, I think, and the original set is 93. So there's a lot of cards to choose from. And when I do pulls from this deck, as you can see, it's a really tiny deck, which is nice, and the cards are really pretty. I like to do one from the regular and one from the expansion. I'm going to move myself around here so I can show you things. Um, yeah, so what I like to do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if I can flip my screen because I do believe it's reversed. Let's see. Camera. All right. Let's see if that works. Yeah, okay. Much better. Anyway, so what I do is I usually pull 1 card from the regular deck and 1 card from the expansion deck. And that tends to really give me good insight or jostle my thought process. So what I'm doing with this 3-card offering that I have up, I'm doing it for summer solstice, and if people enjoy it, I will continue to offer it. I'm allowing creative people to send me a query if they want about what they'd like to focus on as far as this reading goes. Whether it is trying to get over a hump in your creative process, or what you should do next in your career, or why something is sticking for you, or what direction you might want to take next, or why something is not moving. There's just a lot of different things that you can ask. And I have found, I pull tarot all the time for myself. I have found that the combination of tarot card, which is more of a gut check, open, expansive thing that like kind of calls you on your bull and makes you look at things you might not want to look at, in combination with these, which can give you new paths to think about, is a really effective tool. I don't know. My pull, interestingly enough, I did my tarot pull earlier today. I always use The Wild Unknown by Kim Krans. It is my favorite deck. I have many others, but I always come back to this one because it seems to really speak to me. And I just tapped my microphone. Hopefully that wasn't super loud. This is also new, so I'm getting used to it. The interesting thing is that For the second day or second pull in a row, which I guess is, I pulled yesterday and I'm pulling today, I got the King of Swords, which is appropriate, but it's really funny like when that happens, because I shuffle cards very thoroughly. When that happens, that's usually a sign that like that information is really something that needs to be absorbed, right? So I was like, fine, fine, fine. I hear you. I hear you. But I figured I'd share pulling these today, the Sovereign deck, just so I can give you an example of what it's like with a reading like this. So I'm going to mix, this is just a little bit of cards, so it's a little harder to shuffle because there's so few of them. It's a weird thing. Like you'd think less cards would be easier to shuffle, but no, not to do it thoroughly. And when I pull a card, I don't pull off the top. I mean, like you can do whatever you want. I like to pull randomly from the middle as my instincts and my intuition direct me. And today, the card is Tangent. And what it says on the card is, look in a new, weird direction. Did you lose the thread? Whatever you're doing, that's not what you should be doing, is actually going to pay off. Which is interesting because this is not what I should be doing, right? Like I should be writing. I'm a writer. But writing is a joy and writing is my avocation, but writing doesn't always pay the bills. There's been a lot of discussions going on Blue Sky right now about how writers really don't make money. It's very difficult to make an actual living wage as a writer. Honestly, it's difficult to make a wage at all. Even traditional writers, traditionally published writers, struggle because you might get an advance, but that might be all you get. And you may think, ooh, an advance, like $7,000. Wow. That $7,000 covers what you put into making the book in the first place and all the time you weren't getting paid while you were writing it. And it really doesn't go that far. Okay, so like you get this money, but some of it's practically gone already, and it's not going to last that long. Which is why you see some traditionally published writers are so prolific, because that's the only way they can pay their bills. It takes a lot to be successful. And as a self-published author, it cost me upfront to put out that book because I have to pay for everything before that book is ever published. And then I make it back over time. In theory, some books do better than others. My first book is not close to paying itself off, but it's gotten somewhere. You know, it's gotten along the way. I don't have the numbers to just drop out there, but if you ask me, I can pull them up. It is a very non-lucrative business to be in. So as a writer, you're often looking for other avenues that fit into your same creative bent, but that can fill up your bank account a little bit. So this is really appropriate because doing these readings was a thought that I had to help me pay off my editor. Because I can't move on A Small Light in the Darkness until I can pay the editor. They get paid up front. I mean, that is one advantage that traditional published people have over someone like me, is that usually your publisher is paying for that stuff. And I don't have that advantage. So Tangent, whatever you're doing is actually going to pay off. That's a really great card to get because that's what I need. The whole reason that I got into writing in the first place, I mean, I've always been a writer. Let me sidebar that for a second. I've always been a writer. I've always written since I was a little tiny person. But to decide to do this as a career, a lot of it had to do with being sick and not being able to do the other creative things that I had been doing because they required so much of my body that I could not give at that time. And writing was a way to fill up that need for a job, something to do, that a goal. in a way that was not as taxing physically. It's still taxing mentally, but it's not as taxing physically. And the hope was that I would make enough money to make up for the money I'd lost as a fiber artist, not being able to do that anymore. But I knew that this is not an easy field to be in. I knew that's not particularly lucrative. So the idea was it was just something that would make me feel like I was a productive member of society, which is a bullshit thing. But when you're at your lowest, you need something. And I was able to do something that I love, which is tell stories. So yeah, having to come up with new ways to fill up the money making aspect of my life, um, without compromising my morals, but also in a way that like my body can physically handle, is really hard. I can't do a regular full-time job. I can't even really do a regular part-time job because I'm not reliable. My body is not reliable. I may be really, really up one day and be really full of energy and be able to handle concentrating and working at a computer, things like that, for a set amount of time. And then other days I just don't have it. And it's really unpredictable. Um, right now, my body has been struggling a lot. And whenever this happens, whenever I go into a flare or like my body starts to like remind me that, hey, you have an autoimmune disorder and it really sucks. And we're going to affect every aspect of your life. That's the reminder that I am not living in the world of able-bodied people. And I can't join that regular cycle of life where people work and like get their feelings of self-worth from their job. You shouldn't do that, okay? But that is the life that we have. You know, people get their feelings of self-worth from their job, what they can contribute. And I had to shift and think about contributions to the world in a very different way, a non-capitalist way, in part because my body cannot do capitalism, but also because I don't want to do capitalism the way that we're forced to do it. It sucks. So in a weird way, I have I have the privilege of not having to do capitalism, but that's not true. It's not a privilege because I pay heavily for it, and not participating in capitalism sets me back in so many ways because of the way the system is set up. I don't have a regular income. I am lucky enough to live with a family member, my mother, who takes care of a lot of things for me. But when it comes to the stuff that I need to pay for, like my writing things, I have to hustle to make that kind of money. And I don't have a hustle body. I, when I was doing yarn and fiber, I could hustle. And it was a job that I loved and I could do it on my own terms. And that was great. But I don't have that anymore. So I'm struggling to come up with new ways to hustle without hustling, how to make money without being a capitalist like that and putting my body on the line. It is hard, y'all. Anyway, so that's that card. And see, this is the kind of conversation that I will be having with you if I pull cards for you. Um, it helps if I know you because I can fill in things that you may not think about. But even if I don't, I can have this conversation with you about this kind of tangent and why this card may have come out for you, or give you leading questions so you can make it make sense in your life. Because a lot of times when you pull a card like this, I mean, just like I had no plan. I read that card and bam, I knew exactly where to go with that, what it was saying to me, because this is my life, right? I am living it. So anyway, this deck is taking a little longer to shuffle because it's thick. They're tiny little cards, but there's so many of them. Um, they're nice because they're not too slick, so they don't tend to fall out of my hand, which is great. A little aside while I'm shuffling, thing you may not know is for a little while I did read tarot for extra money for my friends and acquaintances, back in like the 90s, the late 80s, early 90s. I used to work at an occult bookshop slash herbal store slash curio shop. But I didn't read cards there. I did other things. I did a lot of book ordering and learned a lot about herbalism. And well, I've always been a pagan-y person, so I increased my knowledge there. Um, but one of the things I did is I started picking up tarot decks and really, really studying. And I have very particular tastes for what I like and what I vibe with. But I love the fact that there are so many decks out there, especially now. Like there was a huge resurgence a couple of years ago and is still going on with many, many, many artists coming up with their own decks, which is fantastic because a lot of the older decks were very, very patriarchal, white, just very, because they all came off of the rider waite symbolism. But that's a whole nother discussion, right? I'm not going to go wander down that path. All I'm going to say is that now we have a much more inclusive and interesting set of offerings out there for tarot decks if you decide to explore on your own. I like Kim Kranz's Wild Unknown, for one, because it doesn't have people on it. They're animals and symbols. And I think that that is great because that keeps my mind open to a specific way of interpretation. I also really like the symbology she uses in the way that she uses color, excuse me, color and line movement is very evocative and works well with my mind. I have some other decks that I also really like, which I can talk about in another time if you want. But today, we got this. This one popped out too, so I'm going to look at that one too. This is Compost. I've had this one before. This is good. Break it down into its elements. Let whatever isn't working become the soil for your next endeavor. Send it to the earth. Let it return to you with new vitality. When you're stuck, this is a great card because sometimes the project gets too big, right? It's so big you can't see all of the separate parts of it. I'm at a point now with the stories of the Illyrianan where it's starting to get really big. And each book is its own little sub story in the greater arc, which is great. That helps me break it down a lot. But because there are references back to things that happened before, and I have to be mindful of each character's journey in the overarching storyline, it can become really overwhelming. I have to keep track of a lot of pieces. So this is a really good reminder because this was a thing I was struggling with when I was writing yesterday a little bit, that I don't have to worry about the whole picture all the time. Worry about this one character's story. Think about what they're going through, and everything else will take care of itself. The other stories, the other character arcs, they'll go where they're supposed to go. My glasses keep sliding down, sorry. There is a magic that comes with creating art. And I'm going to specify storytelling, but I've seen this in many other applications. You can start out with a plan, or you could start out with no plan. And the brain is really good about filling in subtext and connecting things that you weren't expecting to connect. Things become a lot more complicated and interesting and textural when you let your brain have the space to just move subconsciously as you're doing the work, with physically, as you're in the moment of doing the work. You will often find, I know I do, tapping the microphone again, I know I do though, that when you go back and look at your finished work, there are all these things there that you did not plan to put in there. It was not a conscious thought, but they're there. And it is the coolest feeling, because once you start looking at it, you can see how you set up all these different threads to come together, all these different subtexts and unspoken themes. And then at the end, it all ties itself together in a neat little bow and leaves you with the feeling of completion. And you may not have ever put that in your outline or your specifications before you got started. You have to trust in yourself, and you have to trust in your subconscious that you are going to fill in those things. And a lot of that comes with the idea that you can't get distracted by the idea that you have an entire map laid out before you. Concentrate on the area that you're in. Like when you're driving, you don't keep your map really big, right? You narrow it down to the neighborhood you're in, because otherwise you don't know where you're going. It's overwhelming. Same thing with art. Focus down, pay attention to that moment that you're in, and trust that all those roads are going to link up and you're going to go where you were supposed to go, and that the trip is going to be beautiful. Anyway, the other card that I pulled accidentally says allow. This is another good one. Be curious about any resistance. Commit to releasing any programs of not enough. Help is here and simply waiting for your yes. Okay, I have thoughts. I have been talking like this whole month, basically, about the willingness to say yes, or to put yourself out there and say, if you want me, if you would like me, I am here. I accept whatever challenge you would like to give me. There is great power in the act of putting yourself out there and allowing things to come to you, in not self-rejecting, saying, oh, I can't apply for that. I can't try for this opportunity because nobody knows me, because I don't have enough experience, because I'm not good enough, because I'm whatever, I don't fit what I think that they're looking for. All they can say is no, right? If there's an opportunity out there that looks interesting and you think maybe you have any kind of chance at all, even if you don't, if it's just like a dream opportunity, just freaking do it, man. Just do it. Just apply. Just send an email and be like, do you think I'm qualified for this? Because what I've found is that a lot of the time, especially if you take the time to really show people that you can be an asset in whatever capacity that they're needing, they will accept you. They will accept you excitedly, because they want people who are excited to work with them or to volunteer for their situation or take part in their event or whatever. I talked about this a lot in regards to events in particular, because I do so many panels on so many different events, and I've never been turned down for one, even as a beginner, even before my first book was out. I've never been turned down for anything that I've said I would like to participate. And the reason I think that is because, well, I take some time to think about my experiences and how I can use them to give to people, to give to that event or whatever in a way that is useful. And I have a lot of background in speaking. I have a lot of background in creativity. I have a lot of background in organizing. So I put those out there as reasons why I might be a good fit for this event, for panels or whatever. I also have some things where, I'm female coded, non-binary, queer, blah, blah, blah. So I have those things as well. But more importantly, the strongest things that I have to talk about are things like organizing and getting over a lack of self-confidence, things like that. So that's what I tend to volunteer myself for, because I'm comfortable with that and I can speak with authority on it. And I'm a pretty compelling speaker, I think. That my enthusiasm does me well. So, like, if you want to put yourself out there, you need to really consider yourself deeply and what kinds of skills that you think you might be able to give. And if you don't know, and it's fair if you don't, ask people who love you. What am I good at? What can I do to help, to get involved? Because here's the thing, when you allow yourself to be involved, opportunities open up for you. Another big thing that this card talks about is allowing yourself to accept help. Boy, oh boy, is that a tough one. Some people are really good at it. Some people are gracious and can accept the fact that there's something that they need help with and not look at it as a lack within themselves. Other people struggle with that and feel that lack and shame about it. It has a lot to do with shame. And I just want to tell you that there is no shame in needing help on anything, ever, because we're all people here and we've all needed help. And that is one of the social contracts that we're supposed to have with each other, is that we help each other out. Because I help you when you need something that I can give. And in return, the idea is when I need your help, you will be there for me. Yes, reciprocal, but reciprocal in a way that upholds that contract and makes everybody stronger and happier. So when somebody is offering to help you, it behooves you to say yes, because that is fulfilling the social contract too. If you don't have people offering to help and you have to ask, that is harder. But asking is also a part of the social contract. It's hard, I know, because again, that shame thing comes in, that idea that like you couldn't do it on your own. There are very few things in life that we do on our own. We just don't, because everything around us has required other hands on it to make it happen. You being here required other people. The patio that I'm in required people to build it and somebody to pay for it, of course, and somebody to organize all that building. There's so many different things that are interconnected and they all needed other people's help. It is okay to ask for help. Yeah, I know it's hard though. Commit to releasing any programs of not enough. Again, really hard, I know, really hard, because we are programmed to feel like we are lesser than. We are programmed to make ourselves small. And there are reasons for that. Capitalism is a really great reason for that. And by great, I don't mean awesome. I mean, making ourselves small is a way to keep us controlled. Doubting ourselves is a way to keep us controlled as people. Because if you have self-worth, then it is a lot harder for you to be manipulated and oppressed. So having self-worth is a form of resistance embrace it, nurture it in yourself. Believe in yourself, because that is the best resistance you can have. You are a lot less likely to be manipulated or hoodwinked or just shoved around if you have a deep seated feeling of self-worth. It is a long, hard road sometimes to come back from lacking that feeling of self-importance, of self-worth, of believing in yourself and what you can do. But it is also worth it to invest in yourself so that you can get over that. Doing card readings for me is a huge way of reminding myself of my strengths and what I am able to do. Because a lot of times I read the messages and it's a kick in the butt. And it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. I've done that before. I can do hard things. Oh, I can work through this. I have solved everything I've come up with before. And if I haven't done it myself, I've had somebody help me. So yeah, self-worth is resistance. If you get anything from this today, take that, okay? Yeah. So the cards, that's what I use them for. And this is a really good example of the kind of talk that I will have with you. Right now I'm offering my card readings as a paragraph of text. In the future, I may do it where like we can have a chat like this and I can give that kind of advice. Because I'm a lot of things, and I will admit, like, I too struggle with self-worth, and I worry about saying the wrong thing sometimes or taking the wrong track. I'm just making the wrong choices. I mean, like, normal stuff. Everybody feels that way. I come off in video as being very self-assured, but of course I doubt myself. But the trick is that I can doubt myself and then I write it out, or I talk it through to myself, or I talk to my therapist, which is also a really good place to balance out that stuff. But a lot of times I just do it with myself because I know myself pretty well at this point. And I work it out. I go through and I list out all the things that are troubling me and I analyze them logically. Okay, you feel this way. You feel like, take it this way. You feel like you're a failure. Okay. For a day. Like, say, for example, here's a good one. I have not sold any books in a couple of days. I feel like a failure because I've been working my butt off trying to sell some and nothing seems to stick. Okay, let's break that down. So I have not sold books in a few days. Well, let's look at the world politically. It's kind of falling apart. People are worried about losing their jobs or have lost their jobs. We're worried about going into a possible war. There's just a lot of tumultuous things happening in the government here in the United States. All fair reasons for people to hold on to their money a little bit, and maybe not buy a book from an author they don't know yet. That is a fair point, right? That is nothing I can control. I have no control over that. Some people are going to look at my books and either through the way that I've positioned them and talked about them, or just with general vibes, they don't vibe with them. And that is also okay. Your art is not going to be for everyone. My art is not going to be for everyone. A lot of people who read fantasy want traditional sword and sorcery fantasy, or they want epic fantasy, or they want something that is just not what I do, which is fantasy set in modern day times in a real city. That is okay. That is totally okay. That is also not judgment on me. I write what I love. I may possibly get more interest when I put out my science fiction story, or maybe people will hate it. Who knows? That's not my problem. I make the work and I put it out there. And this is a conversation that I've had with myself before. You do the work and then you release it and you move on. because you can't stay seated in debating the value of what you've written once it's done. Once it's out there, it is what it is. It takes its own life on. And the best you can do is try to help it get seen by more people, but it's done. Okay, got that. What other reasons are making me feel bad about not having the sales? Well, I'd like some money so I can pay for the next book. There's nothing I can do about that, but I'm doing the card thing, so at least I've got something going on there. And I'm constantly thinking about other things I can do to bring in little bits of cash here and there that won't tax me. There is a component of taking it personally when people don't want your books. And I kind of just covered that, but it also extends in general when you put work out there and it's not grabbed up right away. It is hard. And these books have been out for, all of them have been out for over a year. My first book came out in 2021. So my latest book came out last year. So they've been out for a while. They've they don't have that spark of fresh new book. Thank God. I wouldn't want to be putting a book out right now. I feel for you, everybody who's doing that right now. It's hard. There's a lot of noise you have to compete with. And as I said earlier, there are a lot of reasons why people aren't putting out money for things that they might consider more trivial, like stories, which they're not. But, I get it. I totally get it. But yeah, it is, as a creative person, it is really easy to take it personally when people don't react to your art or purchase your art or, laud your art. Again, this is a thing that you have to work on as a creative person. You and your art are two separate beings. It's like your child, you birth your child, you raise your child to the best of your ability, but once the child is an adult, they're doing their own thing and you can't really do anything anymore after that. Same thing with your art. You take your time creating it, you put it out there in the world, fully fledged, fully formed, and it's out of your hands. The best you can do is advertise for it, talk about it, draw attention to it, but it's going to perform how it's going to perform. It has no bearing on you as a person. You just have to make the very best art that you can for the person that you are at that time and with the skills that you have at that time. One really cool thing about art is the more that you do it, the better you get at it, because practice always changes your output and improves it. As long as you are open to embracing change and becoming better, becoming more skilled at your art. So you may put out a thing and kind of gets a flat response, but the next thing you've learned from what you did on the previous piece of art, and then you keep moving, and then the next piece of art may get a better reception, or maybe you're just doing something that's too radical for the public right now, and you may get reception for it later, or you may get reception from a very small but important group of people. These are all valid things. It is a capitalist mindset to get upset because you don't sell a lot of your art. And fine, I'm going to talk about it. This is the problem, is that people are like, we're given that dream of, we want to make money off of the thing that we love. And that is valid because that's your calling, right? Of course you want to make money off of it. You want to be an artist, you want to be a writer. That's it. That's your thing. But that road leads to a lot of heartbreak. It's really hard. It's really hard, especially in this time period where art is extremely undervalued, because fascism does not value art unless the art panders to fascism. And that means that you have to be extremely talented in a bunch of different areas to make art a major part of your calling. And you have to be lucky. And those are really hard roads to walk. So I would recommend, if you can take your mindset out of this idea that success is driven by how much you sell, you will be a lot happier. Am I saying this knowing that I also struggle with this? Yes. Yes, I am. I do. It is the hardest thing. And you can really get screwed up because when you do something that is successful, that flavors everything that comes after it, right? It sort of taints it so that it's harder to come back to that kind of Zen place where it's about releasing the art and not worrying about the reception of the art. But I would say to you, if you can, try to remove your ego, and I mean ego in that classic sense, not, like the ego, oh my God, you have to love me, but in that please love me kind of ego way. Remove your ego from your art and let it flow from you and become less invested in how other people react to it if you can, because you will be much happier. I have come to realize that the greatest part of my happiness comes from the creation and not the reception. Would I like to get paid for it? Yes, I would. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, I would love to make big bucks as an author, but I know that that is probably not going to be the case. And so I have to find ways that I live with it properly and don't drive myself to the brink of frustration, because it is very difficult to be seen in this world as an artist, as a creative person, as a writer, as anyone who is putting pieces of work from their soul out there for people to purchase, to consume. Um, that's why I get as excited when people take books out of mine out of the library as I do when I sell them, because I want people to read them. The money is great and I want it, sure, but it is not the important part. Anyway, this is just me thinking along a line of things that have been born out of these cards, but also things that I've been talking about a lot that I think are really important for people to hear as creatives, especially younger creatives or people who are young to their creative career. Because creative careers are really, that's a catchy little phrase there too, because career implies that like you're getting paid in a sustainable way for what you're doing. And sometimes a lot of the times that's not the case. It is a vocation, it is a full-time job, but it's not necessarily a lucrative one. And the word career can kind of like tease your mind into thinking that like your bank account should be showing how much hard work you're putting into this. And that is not how it works a lot of the time, which is poop, but that is how it is. And until the world moves back into a place where we value art a lot more heavily, that's probably going to stay that way. So how do we combat that, Chris? Well, I don't know, but working on your mind so that it doesn't get to you. Finding ways, if you can, to bring in sustainable income that doesn't deplete you or make you feel like you're selling out or make you feel like you're a drudge and make you feel like you're not, like you can't do your creative work. That's another way that can help. Finding other people, finding community where we can all band together and talk about these things and lift each other up and remind each other that it's like this for everybody. We're all out here struggling, especially now. All those things help a lot. It's just, unfortunately, choosing art is not really a choice, I know, because art chooses you, but choosing art is difficult. It's so hard. And the best way you can get through it and not feel like your soul is just being dragged out of your body and stomped on is to do those things. Support yourself and find community, and try not to put monetary value on the things that bring you joy. Ooh, it was a lot of stuff that I just talked about, wasn't it? This was not what I planned when I said office hours, but since nobody's here and my brain is just going and I am a yapper, um, this is what you get. Other things I could tell you about, I could tell you about other ways that I make myself feel good outside of writing, especially when things are frustrating. I journal a lot. Like, I'll show you. I have a nice journal. I've been journaling forever. This is my journal bag right now. It's really pretty. The reason I have a bag to keep my journal in is because I have a really nice cover for it that gets really scuffed up easily. And I have a journal in here that Christopher gave me. Christopher is my partner. It is really pretty, and I didn't want it to get all dirty. So, like, this story goes, I got the journal and I'm like, ooh, that's really pretty, and it's really light, and all my bags are dark. So if I carry it around, it's going to get all gross. So I'll get a cover for it. So I got the cover, right? And then I'm like, oh, but the cover's so nice. The cover will get all scuffed up. So then I got a cover for the cover. But I am that kind of person. I really like bags, and I like things that feel real, right? I want things that feel tactile and textural, and what is the word I'm looking for this? I don't, it's just, there's an aesthetic that makes me feel really good when I write in a journal. It's the same way I use fountain pens. In fact, I have two in here right now. Oops, that ain't a fountain pen. They're both Coleco's. This is one of my favorite 70s weird orange pink color. And then the black one is a fine point with a blue black ink in it. And this one is a medium point and it has a pinky red ink in it. And I like that aesthetic. I like the feel of writing on nice paper with a fountain pen in a nice journal. And you can see there's, not going to give you too much because that's private stuff. But like, I do a lot of that. And journaling is a really great way for me to keep my head together. Journaling is kind of like going to the therapist for me because I'm very honest when I journal. I don't lie in there about anything. I don't lie about how I feel. I don't lie about what's going on. I just say the things because they need to be said somewhere. I mean, we mask all the time. We have to like get through life. Although I am, in a lot of ways, one of the least masky people because I am very forthright, and I will say things that sometimes other people won't say because they're my things and I can say them. And a lot of times saying them will help other people like deal with those things or be able to say them out loud too. But before I go talking about anything like that out loud, I usually will journal about it because there's, in this world of all the masking and like having to mask to get through the different parts of life, you need a place where you can just say everything. And some people don't do that with a therapist, even like they still censor themselves, which is, I understand, but you shouldn't do that. Like, you should be able to tell your therapist anything. So like, the journal is the safest place I know to write everything. I don't have to worry about anybody reading my journal. So if like you have somebody that you worry about going in and seeing things that you may have said that are uncensored, you might want to like consider doing an electronic one that you lock or something like that, or having a journal that nobody else can get to. But I do recommend having a place where you can just let it roll, because it's so important. It's so important to be able to get those things off your chest in an uncensored, unjudged kind of way. Because then you can look at what you're saying and like get down to the details of why am I saying this? Why do I feel this way? What's really here? What is causing it? What is the trigger? What can I address? What is my course of action for correcting this way of feeling so that I don't feel it again? I used journaling to get me through some incredibly bad times, including being super sick, being in abusive relationships, um, being in situations where I wasn't sure what the right choice was. Um, I just journaled through it all, and I recommend it highly. It is a great way to be 100% clear and honest with yourself, which, if you're ever going to improve as a person, you have to do. Um, you have to be there with yourself. And it's really funny because talking about my therapist, that's one of the things that she's always like, you're just really clear about like what it is that you are and what you're dealing with. And I'm like, that's because I think about it all the time. Like, the one thing I can control in life is me, right? I can't control all the situations around me, and I can't control the people around me, nor what I want to, but I can control my reactions to them, and I can control how I deal with the emotions that come up when I interact with things that I can't control. And doing that gives me greater wisdom because I can track patterns. I can track my responses and see how things have changed or have not. And I can see my progress, and I can track my progress, and I can create paths where I can progress. I'm riffing, so like hopefully this all makes sense. Journaling is both a record and a testament to how you have learned to grow and delve deeper into who you are as you try to create the person you want to be. There. That is why you should journal. And I get it. Not everybody wants to do that, but you should. Anyway, it's getting really late. Like, I've been here for an hour talking about just, and I'm going to put this online. So, because I have absolutely no chill and also no shame in the fact that my hair is super puffy, because it is humid as hell out here today. We've had rain for like 3 days in a row. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. What I'm saying matters. My communication with you matters. And I really hope that this very first office hours with Christiane session does something for you. And I hope that talking about this will maybe inspire you to get a 3-card reading with me if you want. And if not, that's okay too. If you don't follow me on Coffee, it's ko-fi and then .com/3ravenspress, spelled out. And you can follow me there. You don't have to pay anything. It's nice if you do. I will be totally honest, because that helps support me as an author. But if you don't, that's also fine. You will still get updates from me. And I will be talking about all kinds of things like this. I talk all the time. Or you can follow my website, christianeknight.com, where I blog about things like this, as well as like my characters and how they go through these things. And, you can just listen to me ramble. Also, if you're not following me on YouTube, which is where you'll probably be seeing this in the future, that is also a really great place to get more of these rambles where I talk about things in completely undirected and unhinged, probably, ways. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, even if it's after the fact. I hope that you get something out of this, because I certainly did. I really enjoyed talking about all this with you. And it's been great. Thanks. Have a great day.